In this video we're going to look at my 1978 Mark II Triumph Stag. It was bought at auction actually in 2020, just prior to the pandemic and the lockdown, and presented as a lovely looking car. I must admit we bought it remotely online first and then went up to go get it, but it was a beautiful car in signal red with the black complementary interior, which set the car off really nicely. It had a Borg Warner gearbox 35 fitted rather than the 65 which I believe it came with, but nevertheless it drove absolutely lovely, and also came with a hardtop too, which is quite nice to see a car with the hardtop as well. And we got it home, albeit via a bit of a low loader, another story. We had a bit of an issue on the way home with the gearbox, but we've had that repaired and we've enjoyed the car ever since for the last 2 or 3 years. So that's all been good. But in recent months, however, I've noticed that there's been quite a bit of rust beginning to creep in across various panels. And yes, the car's been resprayed a few times. I think it started out as Inca Yellow when it was first born 45 years ago. So it's had a few iterations and yes, 1 or 2 titivations. But I thought what I'd do to save a little bit of grace was share some of the horrors of what I found in terms of rust across the car, so that you can see what to look for perhaps when you're looking to buy a Triumph Stag, and where the key points are to watch for that can go rusty and so on. So the plan now with this car is to get it down to my paint sprayer, get it titivated, bring it all up to scratch, and then get it ready for the summer season. And that's all very exciting. Let's go and have a look at the car now, and I'll talk you around the various areas I've spotted that I think need fixing. Okay, so having looked at it on the drive, probably doesn't look too bad from a distance, and looks resplendent there in the spring kind of sunshine next to Ari himself's MG BGT. But actually it's when you get up close and personal that you can see some of the little detail that are kind of letting the car down. And it's one of those things that when you're at a car show and you want to show off the car, you can see people's faces looking a little bit dismayed as they look at Harry the Stag's car and discover it's not perhaps quite as glam as it may have been once 2 or 3 years ago. So a quick swing round the whole car makes us think, okay, it doesn't look too bad, but I'm sure 1 or 2 of you eagle-eyed viewers out there will have spotted some of the issues. So we're going to get close up and personal in just a second and take a view about each of the panels in turn, and starting really with the front edge of the car itself. Along the leading edge there of the bonnet, where you've got the chrome strip, they can gather water underneath. There's a panel just underneath there. You can see some nasty rot that's beginning to creep through the paintwork bubbled up, and I don't know if you can see in the daylight there, but the actual paint itself is striated. I don't know if you can see that. It's not caused by a cover. I'm led to believe it is down to pretty poor paint finish in the first instance when this car was last resprayed, which, to be fair, the auctioneers did flag to me would be a problem. On the A-pillar, these are the areas to watch. They often go down here at the base of the A-pillar. The rainwater runs down that little gutter and causes an issue there, and often you can see paint bubbling up on the car there. The other area, of course, is the bottom of the doors, and here you can see water has got behind the plastic membrane and is now causing rust at the bottom of the doors. Maybe the drain holes aren't as clear, or weren't as clear as they used to be at one time, and that's held water there and therefore started the corrosion process. And there's little pin pricks and little bumps and cracks that you can see when you look up close and personal. Again, on the bonnet, perhaps not as obvious as the on the boot, perhaps not as obvious as the bonnet, but similar striations were to be found on there as well. Watch out for your wheel arches, front and back, leading edge and back edge of the wheel arches. They can cause a little bit of grief and often need panel repairs in those areas. It's good to see the original wheels still on the car, and of course the resplendent Triumph Stag badge, the leaping stag on the back of the car. Really great to see. Going round to the back of the car, however, if you look on the light cluster area, this particular car, again because of poor paintwork, looks like it was a different colour before, has started to peel and flake, which is pretty bad. And then by the filler fuel cap itself, again, you've got some tiny little air bubble pinprick holes that have bubbled through from, again, paintwork and dampness that's probably been under the top layer, under the lacquer, that with heat and sunshine has bubbled up and created a problem. The hard top on this one isn't too bad, he says, but has gone in certain places that I'll reveal in just a second. But again, looking at the rear quarter here and the driver's door, you can just see the bubbling happening and the paint flaking off. Looks like quite a bit of filler has been placed there before, and this side of the A-post, A-pillar, doesn't look so bad, but where it meets the hard top has created some corrosion. And I've got a bone to pick with one of my lads, because during lockdown someone somewhere went out on their exercise bike and came up the drive and deposited their racing bike handlebar, I think, on my offside wing, which I wasn't very happy about, but I've yet to find the culprit. On the leading edge of the bonnet, just watch for that. Those can corrode a little bit, often because of poor fitting of the actual bonnet itself, and that rubs then when you try to open the bonnet up. Okay, so I'm sure there are other rust spot areas that no doubt you guys will feed into the comments box. Please do, because it's all useful for other owners as well. And the car was delivered last weekend down to my paint sprayer Alan's, and he's just going to go through it and get it up to speed, ready for the summer. So, all good and happy days. Now, if you like this film, then watch this video here about when we picked up the Red Barrow from the auction house in the first place. Harry the Stag.